What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Make an Impact podcast with real stories, real people, and real impact. My name's Turnbull. I'm an entrepreneur, husband, and father on a mission to empower individuals to share their stories so they can make an impact on you. We've had our youngest guest in the house. We can check that off the box. 15-year-old JP Radel from New Hartford. I don't even know where to begin with this introduction. He's created 2 films. The next one is coming out here in the next few weeks. One thing that I'll say from the introduction is that I think there's a lot of adults that can take a lot of lessons and general life lessons from this young man. He is a very, very impressive 15-year-old young man that has a great head on his shoulders, certainly going to have an exceptional future ahead, and I'm really excited for you to meet JP. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Make an Impact podcast. Got a super cool guest today, JP Radel in the house. Did I say it right?
Yeah.
See? Radel like cradle. That's the biggest, once we get over that hump with pronouncing the name. JP, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Fantastic. Thanks for coming in. I'm excited about this because our man Mike here set this up. We are just meeting, and I already have a laundry list of things that you've achieved. I'm just going to start. I was thinking about, do we save this for the end or do we set the stage? I'm just going to set the stage because I already know the conversation that we're going to have. Tell everybody how old you are.
I'm 15.
15 years old. So just keep that in the back of your mind when we're going through this resume of success already at 15 and the great young man that you are. But JP, thanks again for taking the time to join us. If you can, just start with introducing yourself, and then we'll get into some of the topics we want to talk about.
Yeah, I'm JP Radel. I'm a sophomore at New Hartford. I work at my church, and I like to do fun, cool things that interest me, you know?
Yeah. Tell us about the work at the church.
So I have been altar serving at my church. I help run the mass, set up mass, that kind of stuff for 8 years now. By the time I graduate high school, I will have been serving for 10 years. And then I've been serving as the head altar server, sacristan, which is a paid position for a year now, 2 years, something like that.
And so what, behind that service, why is that important to you?
I think it's really nice to be very actively engaged in my church community. I get to see everyone. I know everyone's names. And I think it's nice to do something to serve God, to really practice my faith. And I really do find myself closer and stronger in my faith as a sacristan.
So this is a cool opportunity because this is the first time we've met and having a conversation. And I think literally yesterday is when we set this up, Mike, if I'm not mistaken. And so that was your first maybe introduction to the podcast in general. The purpose of the podcast is to introduce the listeners to who JP is, right? And this is the first time we've had a 15-year-old in the seat, right? But it may be somebody that's in insert role here for this company. And they're doing incredible things, whether it's in their community, their home life, their family life, their professional life, whatever it is. And it's stemmed, the theme of the podcast is stemmed from service, right? And making an impact in the lives that they serve, whether that's in their role as a CEO of a big company or a small business that they're trying to start to make an impact on people. I set that stage because I want you to tell us, before we get into all of this that I want to go over, what do you think it is in you at the age of 15 and well before 15 is instilled in the servant lifestyle, doing good by others, the fundraiser stuff that you've done, the volunteer stuff that we talked about in the church? Where do you think that's come from?
One of my favorite church hymns is called, I think it's the Servant's Song. And the lyrics are, we are pilgrims on a journey. We are travelers on a road. We are here to help each other walk the mile and bear the load. I think it's so important. Like everyone is carrying something far heavier than they can carry by themselves, and to just be able to help people, even in like little ways, and make their days a little brighter, and really try to make an impact on people who are struggling in ways you can't even imagine.
Yeah, and so talk to us. Let's get right into this about the filmmaking stuff. So tell people about these projects. You had one, and then you have one in the works, and then we can get into the why behind it and all that.
So I've like made short films since I was a kid. With my brother Luke, we'd make like, little trailers on iMovie. And then as I got into like elementary school, middle school, I made like Roblox short films because that's all I had, And finally, after it took me a couple of years to fully write and develop my first film, The Hermit, and I finally got that made with my best friend of almost 5 years now, Henry Ramey. We've been film buddies since we met, and we made that, and now. The trailer just came out for the next movie, which is Night of the Boogeyman. That's coming out Wednesday, June 17th at 7 p.m.
So you got two people that are sitting here that have never made a film before, and probably a lot more that are watching that have never made a film before. Tell us the process behind that, and importantly, like the why for you. Past that, it's fun and cool and something you enjoy doing. Like, what's the purpose of it, and how does that process work to even develop a film?
So I think it's movie making is a really interesting and unique way of making a statement, of not just doing something cool, but like actually saying something with what you're writing. And it starts with dreaming. First, you come up with the idea. You maybe jot down some points of the plot, and then you develop it. You form it until you get an actual script. And from there, you build a team around you of people who are just as passionate as you are, and they have to be just as passionate because sadly the people who aren't just kind of flake on you.
Sure.
You need really a dedicated team around you, and once you have that, it's just a matter of grounding your dreams in reality. I put together a budget, made a schedule. Like I have so many Google Docs of just plans and plans and plans, and that's how you get it made. Is you dream, and then you put that dream on the ground, and you do it.
So filmmaking, there's fundraising stuff we want to talk about in here. There's ambitions of engineering, cool things that we'll get into. All of it has a similar theme of just doing the darn thing, learning along the way. And you said most importantly, planning. But my question is, at 15 years old, doing all of this, what have you learned about yourself along the way? Because the saying that I'm thinking of is not the one I want to use, but it's the closest thing I can think of like failing forward. Like you make mistakes in order to figure out how to do it the right way. Mm-hmm. That's life, whatever it is, in business, in personal development, whatever it is. You have to make mistakes in order to realize, well, can't do that one again. But sitting here at 15 years old, making a film already, working on your second film, not only what has it taught you about filmmaking, but what has it taught you about JP?
Starting with myself, it's taught me that I can only push myself so hard for so long. At a certain point, I can only do so much work because of energy, and also just because at a certain point you have to say, I'm done. Filmmaking is really unique in that, unlike a musical or even unlike a TV show, in order for other people to see it, you have to abandon it. You have to put your hands up and say, I'm done. And so there were many points where I had to say, I can't do anymore, I'm done. And I've also learned that, I want to be the best filmmaker that I can be, but I'm not perfect, and a lot of times I do stuff that was probably obviously the wrong thing to do, but
Sure.
That's just what happens, you know?
Yeah.
And then filmmaking, there's so many things, like you can watch hours and hours of YouTube videos, but you don't really get a full grasp of it until you do it. And there were so many things that if I could go back, I'd totally redo it. And part of that is just, you got to get experience. Mm-hmm. You have to start somewhere. And something I found is that many times roadblocks are actually just like detours. They just reroute you on a better path. Or sometimes they prevent you from doing something you can't do. Mm-hmm. Like, for example, I wanted to have an orchestra score the film of my first movie. I'd write it and then conduct the orchestra. And I really wanted to do it, but I kind of realized budget-wise that wouldn't work. But after I was done making the movie, I realized, like, I wouldn't be able to do that. So even if I did have the money, it wouldn't have worked out at that point. And so I think sometimes it's good to reflect on places you were forced to stop, because a lot of times you've been caught before doing something stupid.
So what has changed in the second time around? Obviously, you hinted there, things that you've learned and said, oh, if I could have done that differently, I would have done it differently. Well, you're doing it again. So here's your opportunity. What's changed?
So this time I tried out some new systems that worked better scheduling-wise. The schedule worked better for this film. I also gave myself more time on the back end in post-production to put everything together, which was nice because with the last film, I was kind of sprinting to the finish. Now, if I'd given myself the 2 months I gave the last time, I would have been totally out of time. I finished filming the movie in February.
So take us through that. Take us high level from a filmmaker standpoint. Take us through, you talked about setting up the team, setting up the dream. This is what I want it to be. You got an idea. To the film was done. Just at high level, take us through that process.
So I wrote the film last April, and I worked on it. My best friend Henry, and then a good friend from New Hartford, Rayon. We are the three writers, and from April to just about November, we slowly worked on the script, fixed stuff. Then I put out an announcement that I wanted to audition people, and I got a couple audition tapes, picked my actor from there, and that was in December. Meanwhile, in December, I'm building a schedule, building a budget, and then January is when we actually got it done. So in December, Henry built the costume for our monster, the Boogeyman. And while he was doing that, I started ordering props. And then come January, we started filming. I filmed in my own house to save on location money. And so there was quite a bit of setup each night, just getting a place for stuff. We had to portion off part of the house just to fit everything because there's so much. There's lights and there's props and then everyone's personal stuff. I mean, this is the middle of winter, so you have winter clothes and stuff. And that we had, I think, four filming nights, January through February. And then after that, about mid-January, I put out a poster in the music wing at New Hartford with Miss Caskey, the band teacher, advertising that I wanted to put together a jazz band to play the music. And I started writing the music in October, finalized the music in March, started rehearsing the band at the very end of March. We recorded a couple weeks back. As a side note.
There's more. There's more.
As a side note. The music teachers at New Hartford have been crucial to this. Mrs. Mojave, who's the theater director, and Miss Caskey, who's the senior high band director, have been working on this with me since September, October, and they've been super supportive the whole way through. Miss Caskey let me use her band room to rehearse the band, and then Mr. Fabio, the junior high band director, set up his microphone setup to record the band. I can't tell you how much money I saved, because he, out of his generosity, he not only set it up for us, but ran it. And I already have some of the recordings back, and they sound really good, quality-wise. They've been super supportive. So we got the band rehearsed, recorded. Then came the teaser trailer, which was a short. I didn't do a teaser trailer for the Hermit, but I wanted to try it out, and that actually went pretty well this time. I think I got 1,400 views, and that came out a month ago, just about. And then 2 Sundays ago, I released the full trailer. And the movie will be coming out in June. I'm going to set it to premiere a week before, so June 10th, I'm done with the movie, and that's it.
So you set that date ahead of time, so
yes.
I have to be done by this date.
And throughout this whole process, I did it for the Hermit too. I made a Google form of feedback questions and sent out rough drafts of the film. So first I put together a rough draft of all the clips together, that kind of stuff. And then I get people's feedback, first draft, and I go draft by draft by draft. I think the Hermit had 4 drafts, something like that. And I just send the form out to the cast and crew, but also to family and friends to get their input, get as many eyes on it as I can before I fully abandon it. And that's been going on since February. And then, like I said, June 10th, off my hands.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so I was trying to get what you did a very good job in answering that high level, but I can't just let that be. So there's a lot of things in there that you said. I wrote the music. I conducted the band. Remind everybody, he's 15 years old. Thank you. I did this. I did that. You know, you and your team. I assume you're saying when you say I. Again, never wrote a film before. I assume that's not. Is that normal from a filmmaker standpoint that you're doing all of those steps throughout, or is that something that's normally sourced out throughout the way as far as the music and the props and filming it at your house and all this stuff? You know, like tell us about from the filmmaker standpoint how different or unique that is,
So,
if it is at all.
In like an actual Hollywood film, I think just about every one of those roles would be a different person. When it comes to like smaller scale short films, like the one I made that like professional short films, usually most of that is outsourced. The music will be written by someone different. Maybe writer and director sometimes are the same, but everything else will be a different person. Everyone is really wears so many different hats throughout this whole production. Like I said, my co-director and co-writer is also the costume designer and is also doing visual effects work to make the Boogeyman look as cool as possible. Like everyone does so many different stuff because there's just not as much of us. And I can't afford to hire people.
Right.
You know?
Right.
I think the final budget, like the final cost for this is coming out to about $350. The first film I made was $100.
That's incredible. What is like talk to us specifically the second film? What's the goal for it? What in JP's head is a success?
I think part of the success is being happy with the film myself. So something I've learned about filmmaking and art in general is like, you know how you don't like hearing yourself talk? Movies are just like that when, you know, I'm as involved in it as I am. Where to a certain extent, all I can see is, oh, that was just a little wrong or the whole time. But once I set that aside, I want to be satisfied with what I made. And I really was with The Hermit. And I think with the way it's looking now, I think I will be for Boogeyman. Obviously, views is nice. I'd like to get growth beyond what I got with the last one. Last film was at, I think, 2.3 thousand. Hoping for about 5,000 for this one.
And so where is the views? Like, is it on your own
YouTube.
Social media? Okay,
Yeah.
so on your YouTube. Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
21 Pictures is the YouTube channel.
Gotcha. Okay. Bear with me. I wanted to pivot on a point there of we went through the film and I'm back. I think I know the answer to this question. At any point through this entire journey, I'm just going to stick with films for now. Have you ever been told, felt a certain way, or, you know, had a feeling from someone of like, you're only 14, you're only 15, like you should focus on school and, you know, do this later or whatever. You know, have you ever felt that limitation? It's clear the limitation's not there, but have you ever felt that way?
Absolutely.
Talk to me about it.
You know, I think in the first place, and this wasn't out of like oh, you're just 14, what do you think you're doing? But my parents, when I first came to the idea, applied some scrutiny, like, okay, you're a ninth grader and you want to spend $100 on this film, prove to me that you actually have a plan.
Did it have anything to do with you taking over their house for 4 nights to film it? It might have had something to do with it a little bit. I mean, especially in January, they had nowhere to go outside.
Thankfully, it was Bill's watching season, so they had other places to go for some of it. And so to overcome that, I did my homework. I turned into them a 14-page proposal on the movie, and that got it done. You know, same thing with getting the band room to rehearse in. When I first thought of the idea, I thought that's crazy. You know, how am I going to get the band room? I'm not a teacher, but I wrote out a proposal. I made a plan. And I gave it to the band director, and she was like, yeah, this is cool. Let's do it. You know? I think a lot of times I have sort of the fear that that's going to happen, but most of the time it doesn't. Most of the time I'm not going to be, little brothered, if you will. Like people at New Hartford who I've worked with have been very supportive, thankfully. And it just it helps when you like really make a plan and like write a proposal, do like very professional things, make it look professional, because if you can make it look adult, people will start to treat you like adults.
Do you know what you're saying very basically? That you're proving that you believe in yourself. I mean, that like you're doing, there's no difference. The parallel I want to draw here is there's no difference between what you just said of proposing this idea to your parents at 14 years old, proposing it to the band director, and a 40-year-old trying to convince his wife that it's a good idea to quit his job and start this business. There's no difference. It's, you said, I know we can do this. Think about all the aspects you talked about, your co-writer, the this and that, the experience, I'm sure, for the band teacher to say one of my students is doing this, the students that you had play the music, the rehearse. That's the impact across the board. And that's why I asked you that question, because I'm sure that it has come up. And if it hasn't come up directly to you, to your point, it has come up, maybe not all the time, but with fear. How have you combated that fear during those times?
I think it's just a matter of trusting yourself, being able to say, okay, this isn't completely unreasonable, and just doing it. And if you get pushback, you get pushback, you know? I think just go for it, you know? I think that's what's important, is like use your abilities as best you can to just do it, you know? Do what you love. And if people push back, they push back. So be it. That it is what it is. Just keep going, you know?
You know, I just have to say this too, is I can guarantee you for a fact that first off, I don't feel I need to say this, but you should be so darn proud of yourself. I'm sure your parents will watch this. You should be so proud of him. But I just sit here and think of, there's probably, not probably, for a fact, there's people that are watching this right now that are saying, JP's 15 years old. We haven't even got, I've even got past bullet point 3, by the way. You're 15 years old. You've done these films. You've built a team. You've made it happen to the point where the film is done. And there's somebody that's watching this that's 50 or 60 years old and saying, man, I had that idea and I never acted on it because of fear. And you just said it. Just do it. You know, I think that's super, it's such a blessing and super powerful that at this young age, you have that ability to just say, I'm doing the damn thing. I'm going for it. So good for you. June 10th comes, the film's out. It gets 10,000 views. What's next?
I'm already working on the next film.
Of course you are. Of course you are.
I have my team from the last couple movies, and then Henry, my co-director who goes to Westmoreland, he's brought on some kids out there who also directed their own short film. A Fortissimo Discovery is what it was called. They put together their own short film out there, independent of us, and we're kind of merging, and we have some big plans for this summer to be releasing next fall. So
this film thing, I'm stuck on this, and I know we want to move on to other things, but I asked you before we started recording, which I'll get into, so don't answer the question yet, of what, if you could pick anything, what would JP be doing in the next 10 years? Let me pivot that question to just the film passion. What would you like the film work to look like in the next 5 to 10 years that JP's doing?
I'd like to make short films with friends. I'm not particularly interested in going into the film industry. That's not really where I feel called. You know, that's not the focus I want to go into. Well, I know I'd love it. I don't like compromising as much as would be required there.
Sure.
You know, with my short films, I am the studio. I get the final say.
Right.
And so I don't have to compromise on my work except for what's realistic. You know, I get to make
You have more
my
control.
film as I like it, you know, and I get to write it as I like it, and I'm not accountable to anyone but myself. I'm not accountable for the film's success or failure to anyone but myself and my team. You know, making it a job, it wouldn't be just a passion project anymore, and I'd have to be answering to people above me who I probably wouldn't agree with a lot of the time.
All right, so come on, let's play pretend for a minute and say it's June 11th. Give us a little teaser. What's next year?
So we'll be announcing sometime this summer. We're working on a film, still a surprise. That'll be another short horror film to be released this fall. It will, as of right now, things are still subject to change. As of right now, it will have another original score played by another student ensemble. It will have a larger cast, larger budget, and it will be of a larger scale than Boogeyman was. Boogeyman was just like in my house. This is going to be many different locations, doing more than Boogeyman did when it comes to location-wise. And also, I personally think it's going to be really cool. I wrote it around the same time I wrote Boogeyman. I wrote those two, like the initial concepts, in about 2 weeks. With writing, I find I can't write most of the time, except when I have like a passion for it, and then I just spit out an entire script in a week. And that's how this movie was. Like I said, working with those Westmoreland people, I've got a much bigger crew, super, super talented people. I'm really, really excited.
And those are all students, high school stage students?
All students, yeah.
Super cool. Talk to us about the engineer aspirations for the future. I know that when I asked you before we were recording, that was something that you've been planning for and looking forward to. Talk to us about that.
So I love engineering, and I particularly love roller coasters. Even though I get motion sickness, I love
that doesn't add
roller
up.
coasters.
You just want to build them. You don't want to ride them.
Oh, I want to ride them. I want to ride
Just
them.
on an
I
empty
love
stomach.
roller coasters. There's just, I don't know what it is. I just love them. I have every roller coaster game and like design software under the sun. I have a YouTube channel where I design them and then upload them, GeForce Studios. That's got 450 something subscribers. And I make roller coasters, publish them, people like them. The dream is to design them for a roller coaster manufacturer. So the people who actually design the rides, that's my dream. There's like, I just love them, you know? And something about them, designing them clicks for me. I have a model kit in my basement that I design roller coasters with. And just something about the assembly and the design, it just clicks, you know? And I think it would be really fun just doing what I love and also doing something cool.
Sure.
As a job,
Yeah.
you know? Like, I think that would be cool. And also bragging rights of taking my friends and family to theme parks. Oh, yeah, I designed that one, you know?
Yeah, that's super cool. It's just so impressive that at 15 you have this figured out. I say figured out, things could change, obviously, right? As life does. But you have like the North Star of like June 10th, this date, the next date's this date. Most 15-year-olds I know don't know what they're having for dinner, let alone I want to be an engineer and specifically to roller coasters and all that. And one thing that it tells me without even asking you is the support you've gotten from your family, I can imagine, to do all this. And you talked about the proposals of doing the first film. And just talk to us about your family and their role and your success with all this.
So, you know, my family has always been supportive, and not just in a, oh yeah, go do whatever you want kind of way, but also in a critical way when what I'm saying,
you need a little
probably,
pull.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, part of love is saying when you're wrong. It's not just supporting, it's also calling you out when what you're doing isn't good or when your planning isn't realistic. And they've been super, super important. You know, they're always the first set of eyes I have on everything. They're the first people that get to see the movies because I know that they're going to give me the most honest feedback. My brother Luke Radel is a reporter, and he's been my role model since I was super, super young, because he's been doing this stuff.
He's older brother?
Yes, my oldest brother. He would ask Congress people for interviews when he was 14 and got them. He interviewed people of Congress. I think to date he's asked questions of Trump and Biden, Speaker of the House. He interviewed Pete Buttigieg. He's never let his age stop him. He's always been going. Even when people say, "Hey, you're a kid. What are you doing? You're a kid." He's particularly faced sort of a pushback because of his age.
Sure.
Because he's doing stuff better than a lot of the adults are.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And he's been a super, super important role model to me, just showing that if you dream it and you know how to do it, you can. He's been a super important to me. And then my brother Mark, he's the middle of the three. I'm the youngest of three. He's in the middle. He's a person with Down syndrome, and he's inspired me throughout the way. Because he has an intellectual disability, he has to work twice as hard just to do what I can do. He was the first student in the Mohawk Valley to graduate with a Regents diploma.
Wow.
And the whole way, he's just worked so hard. And, he's also given me patience. People commend me for my patience, but it's really not because of me. It's because of him. He's taught me to be understanding of people and to be patient with them in a way I wouldn't get otherwise. I'm so thankful that he has Down syndrome, because I wouldn't have learned those lessons and I wouldn't be the person I am. I have every reason to be a brat, but I'm not, because he is, and he's taught me to be patient with people, and that's been so crucial when I'm trying to film a movie and there's 20 minutes left of filming and I have way too much to get done. He's given me so much patience that if I didn't have that patience, I really wouldn't be able to make a movie. I wouldn't be able to do the stuff I do.
That's so good. I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is how, again, I'll remind everybody at the age of 15, how aware you are of your surroundings. And I think a lot of adults that are watching this can take a lot of lesson from that. And like what you said, your brother Mark with Down syndrome, how much he's taught you and how much a blessing that has been, of what the patience that he's taught you, and Luke, and looking up to him and the different things. And we were 10 minutes ago talking about whether it was internally or externally objections that you've gotten because of your age and you're just a kid or whatever, and you're sitting here talking 10 minutes later about how your brother's done that and how you're looking through that. Talk to us about the group that I think your mother runs here locally. Talk to us about that.
So my mom founded the 21 Club, which is a Down syndrome support group for Central New York. And we have hundreds of members. She could tell you the exact number.
Sure.
I'm not sure. And, she saw a need for support for people and families with Down syndrome in our area, and she filled that gap, And it really is like a full-time job on top of her other full-time job.
Sure.
And, she organizes events. She has speakers come talk. And then she also just accompanies people. And she creates really like a family. We have a yearly holiday party, and that's hosted down at the Delta. And that's the largest banquet center we can find. And we still have to turn people away because she's grown it so much, and there's just so many people who need that kind of support.
Sure.
And what's sad is that a lot of our institutions, particularly our medical institutions, aren't structured to support these families with disabilities, particularly these families with people with Down syndrome. And so my mom has been working to change that. She has packages at, I think, Krause in Syracuse for mothers of babies with Down syndrome as like a welcome package.
Wow, that's
congratulations,
so cool.
Here's the stuff you need to know, because they wouldn't get that otherwise,
Right. Right.
And like I said earlier, we are pilgrims on a journey. We are travelers on a road. We are here to help each other walk the mile and bear the load.
We got to wrap it up right there. What an ending. JP, this has been incredible. Hopefully we're still doing this in 5 years. I'll have you back when you're 20, and just don't forget about us, all right? Don't forget about us in this little studio in New Hartford, New York, when you're down in Walt Disney making all these roller coasters. But incredible journey, incredible story. Where can everybody find the films? What's you kind of hinted at, and we'll make sure to put everything in the show notes so people can click right on it. But you hinted at a few different YouTube channels and things. Is that the main area?
So 21 Pictures on YouTube. That's where you can watch the movie. G4 Studios, that's where you can check out all my roller coasters. And like I said, Night of the Boogeyman will be coming out Wednesday, June 17th at 7 p.m.
And then talk about your mom's group again.
Oh, yes, the 21 Club of CMY.
Yep.
I think that's 21clubofcmy.com or .org.
Got it. We'll make sure to put all that in.
Yeah. And, you can visit the website if you have questions. My mom's contact information is on there. If you want to donate, you can donate through the website.
Cool.
And support all the good work.
Awesome. JP, thanks for coming in and doing this.
Thank you so much.
You're an inspiration, my friend. It's an incredible story. Everybody, go be like JP. That's all I got to say. Until next time, go out there, lead with purpose, and make an impact in someone's life today, even if that's your own. My name's Stephen Turnbull. We'll see you next week. Take care.